This brand is, in my opinion, one of the best fragrance houses on the market today. Hello, welcome back to Vanille Havane. I'm Daniel. Today we're taking fragrances, and this is fragrance speed dating with Les Indemodables. In this video series, I plow through a mountain of samples to give you a very quick and dirty first impression of various houses and maybe even in the future, various types of fragrance. In this style of video, my interaction with the various fragrances is kept to a minimum. For more in-depth observations, you have my full reviews and first impression comparisons. There, I actually wear the fragrances on skin and I really talk about the evolution of the fragrances. Today, we're going to be sampling all of the Les Indemodables Discovery set. These are 11 fragrances, if I remember correctly. So I won't be talking about the fragrance as a whole. I will be only touching upon the first impressions, the very first opening, and keeping it very speed dating style. Today's discovery set is definitely one that I'm very excited about. Les Indemodables is easily one of my favorite houses on the market. It's one of those brands that really hits on all fronts. They make amazing fragrances that to me are extremely wow-inducing. They have a simple, elegant style to them, but at the same time, they're so refined, they're so creative and curated. I like their concept and execution, and if you know me, I'm a sucker for good ideas and good intent and how these two things are brought to the market under the form of a product. Speaking of products, I really like their fragrances. I have 3 of their fragrances. I will be covering those within this discovery set. But again, I will put myself in a third-person mode and try to be as unbiased and as objective as possible without considering the longevity or the dry down and all those other facets that are not necessarily the topic of conversations for today's style of video. Before we start, let me just remind you how this style of video works. I'll be spraying the fragrances that I've selected. In this case, it's going to be the whole discovery set on strip, which is a stark difference from my usual doing. I like to spray fragrances on skin because I like how the skin really emphasizes certain notes and how it makes the fragrance unique. I also wear my fragrances on skin, so that's how I like to sample them. In this case though, in this style of format, I can't because spraying multiple fragrances on skin becomes extremely confusing. I would not be able to tell them apart. In this case, specifically 11 fragrances on skin, I literally don't have space for that. So I'll be spraying them on strip, all of them. I'll be assigning a score to the very first impression and very first opening, a score that goes from 1 to 10. And then I'll probably be selecting the one that I like the most and spraying it on skin to see if there's any sort of evolution from the strip version. Another thing to note is that with this style of video, I really try to replicate the idea and feeling of going into a shopping smelling fragrances. And when I say that I put myself in third-person mode, I mean just that. I put myself in the shoes of a person going in there. And when you visit a shop to maybe purchase a fragrance, you don't really have time to wear everything on skin and to wait for every type of dry down. Your first and lasting impressions will probably be based on how the fragrance opens up and how it performs on strip. So my observations will be based on those factors. All right, let's get right to it. This is going to be a long video. There's a lot of fragrances to go through. And I hope I don't get too fatigued, but knowing Les Indemodables and knowing their fragrances, I think that it's going to be a relatively smooth experience. They're all very elegant, very refined, they're simple to a degree. I also feel that the fragrances differentiate a lot one from another, so I'm not going to be struggling to pick out the differences in the various vibes and moods. This is the official Les Indemodables Discovery set. I feel that it offers excellent value. I think this retails about 50-ish bucks. I got this recently, but I don't remember how much I paid for because there's also shipping. But anyway, super high quality, super high value. You get 11 fragrances. I think they're all 3 mLs. And again, the quality of fragrances in here is pretty much second to none. And given the price, I can already say that this for me is an easy recommendation. If you like high quality fragrances, you have to give this a go. And I'm saying this despite not even having smelt 8 of the 11 fragrances in here. But I'm so confident in the brand, I'm so confident in their products that I'm pretty sure that all of these are going to be really, really awesome. All right, so let's open the thing up and get going because there's a lot to go through. So in here we get a card. What is this? Oh, it's a nice welcome thank you card with a discount code, which I might be using. Thank you there. Then we have a booklet, which we're going to be looking at in a sec. This is an ingredient list. Oh, and by the way, I really like the fact that Les Indemodables features all of their notes and ingredients and percentage of ingredients, and especially the special ingredients. I really like that factor. I like how transparent they are, and it actually gives a pretty decent idea of what these fragrances might smell like. These are the fragrances, 11 fragrances. We're gonna go back to these in a sec. All right, the booklet here is really nicely printed. It feels hefty, both in French and in English. It's a colored booklet. I like the images. I like the print style. And again, it features a little bit of a description of each fragrance with the various ingredients. I do applaud that. I really like this thing. It really helps you discover the fragrances, and you can really tell that they care about their products, they care about the presentation, they care about the marketing. To me, there's nothing worse than a brand that doesn't seem to care about their products. Les Indemodables really puts a lot of effort in their presentation. Everything about the brand is so meticulously curated. There's a lot of love in here, and I do applaud it. I really have to give them props for this. I'm a little bit on the fence here because given how beautiful and extensive this booklet is, smelling the fragrances without using it or referencing it, or at least referencing the description of the fragrances, would be a massive disservice to the brand. So I think I'm gonna just read the very brief description for each fragrance before I smell it. I think it's interesting, and it might give us an idea of what we can expect from the fragrance itself. Here are the 11 fragrances in the Discovery set. We're gonna be going through these left to right and top to bottom. As I mentioned, I do own 3 bottles of these, but when we get to those fragrances, I'm gonna do my best to talk about them in an unbiased third-person mode without referencing features of the dry down or features that show up after multiple wears, those fine nuances there. So yeah, I'm gonna try to treat them as all of the other fragrances that I have never smelled. All right, I'll start off with the first fragrance here. This is instantly recognizable to me because of the liquid color. It's Vanille Havane. I have this fragrance, I love it. I have a review out for this fragrance, so I have a lot of experience with it. But again, I'm gonna try to put myself in third-person mode and just talk about it like I've never smelled it before. This is, by the way, easily one of the most popular fragrances from the brand. It even has 2 flankers. One is the extrait version. It's almost like an oil roll-on, actually, and the other one being the Cuir de Oud, the one with the oud one. That was a limited version. I kind of wanted it, but the price was just pretty insanely dumb, so I had to pass on it. And I guess I have to pass on it forever because it's done. Anyway, let's reference the booklet for Vanille Havane just to get ourselves in the mood. And it says, a journey through the multiple olfactory facets of a premium gourmet grade black vanilla bean, revealing the depth and layers of this complex perfume ingredient. Rum, dried fruits, cocoa, cigar, and dark florals that reverberate on an ambery leather base. All right, moody, dark. I'm expecting something rich, dark, resinous, a little bit gourmand. All right, let's go 2 nice sprays here. This is an atomizer. This is an exceptionally good atomizer for a sample. This is probably one of the best I've ever tried. And this shows how much a company like Les Indemodables loves their products and cares for their products. Sorry if I keep beating this dead horse to death, but I do really care about this stuff. And this stuff matters to me. It really matters, and it sells me on the house. I love it. I love it. And this smells amazing off the strip. It smells amazing in the air already. Look, as much as I love this role playing about not knowing what this fragrance smells like, I have to say that I have this, I love it. And I really want to highlight how every time I spray this, it feels like the first time. It feels like I've been missing out on this fragrance. It's absolutely insane. I love it so much. The first thing that hits you in this fragrance is definitely the boozy rum note that was featured in the description in the booklet there. It's very, very prominent. It's very realistically boozy, and off the strip, this comes across almost as a boozy fragrance. It's very nuanced. There's a lot of stuff in there. I'm not smelling the cocoa. I'm not really smelling the vanilla, or rather, the vanilla is in there, but it's not really front and center. This is not one of those sweet vanillas. This is a lot more of a boozy adult vanilla. I can't explain it. It feels like a really realistic vanilla bean. I love cooking, I love baking desserts, and I love using vanilla. I love scraping it off the bean, and that smell is incredibly well portrayed in here. It has this sort of a fermented type of vibe. Again, it might be that boozy aspect that is convincing me about this fermented, very realistic vanilla. It might be the boozy component that is cutting through the sweetness to make it a lot more palatable, for me at least, and a lot more adultish, gourmandish. This is beautiful. Wow. And again, cutting away from that persona that has never smelled this, I have to say that smelling this on strip again perfectly replicates my feeling of smelling this for the first time in the shop there when I went to purchase it. It's beautiful. And I knew I wanted it because it was sort of hyped, but I never was expecting such a potent, prominent opening. It's absolutely incredible. Beautifully mesmerizing. I can totally see how people walk into a shop, they smell this, and they just walk away with a bottle. Absolutely insane. Wow, this is so good. Off strip, it's extremely boozy. I'm not really getting much of the nuances that they're talking about in the booklet. I'm really not getting much of the dates or dried fruit. I'm not really getting much of the cocoa. It's more of a very boozy vanilla. It smells like a vanilla liqueur. Really nice, really adult. It has a little bit of smokiness, so there might be a little bit of a beautifully balanced tobacco leaf in here. But yeah, this is intoxicating. I really like this. Again, I can totally see how this sells fragrance. This experience sells the bottle. This is an extremely potent, beautiful opening. This is easily an 8.5 out of 10. Second fragrance we have here is Musc de Sables. I kind of remember smelling this off strip when I went to purchase my fragrances. I don't really remember what it smells like. I can sort of imagine it. I do remember that I liked it though. Before we spray this, let's just mention what's written on the booklet here. And where is Musc de Sables? Okay, it says, a kind of olfactory mirage, irritating, soft, and powdery, created without any floral notes, clearly outstanding in the world of balsamic, musky, oriental perfumes. All right, doesn't say much, doesn't really explain what it is. Let's give it a couple sprays and see how it goes. Beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. I have to say off the bat that this is much less prominent, much less in your face than Vanille Havane. This is kind of your typical musky, very beautiful, clean linen type of smell. It has this beautiful fluffy towel feeling. Wow, so gorgeous. Very simple, very clean, very light and airy. It has a strong iris note in here, I feel. It's not a heavy iris at all. It's not one of those greasy, oily type of irises. It's not even very dirty or very earthy. This is a very clean, very polished, very fluffy type of iris. Very, very beautiful. Incredibly velvety in texture. You can almost feel the texture in your hands when smelling this. Again, it smells like a very beautiful fluffy towel. This smells like the best hotel room possible. It smells like the best dryer sheet possible. This is definitely gorgeous, but it's not my style. I mean, I would wear this because it's just so beautiful, but it's not something that I would pick out and wear for myself. It's a little bit too discreet in a way. This is beautiful. Again, on a white shirt, at work, this would work wonders. Absolutely gorgeous. I do feel that this might be leaning a little bit more feminine. I mean, these are completely unisex, I have to be honest. And if you think iris is feminine, then this might lean feminine, but this is absolutely gorgeous. I like it, not my style, a little bit subtle off the strip. If Vanille Havane was a strong 8.5 out of 10, this is probably something like a 7, 7.5. Third fragrance we have here is Oriental Velours. This fragrance is easily the one that I'm most excited about. I almost blind bought this various times. I kind of have this feeling that I'll like this, and I didn't really buy it because Les Indemodables is not readily available in Switzerland. There's only one place where you can get these, and it's in Lugano, but it's not really this accessible shop. It's more like a new age physiotherapy type of studio. You have to call, you have to ring the doorbell. It's just kind of like a faff. I don't like interacting with people. I like just walking into a shop, pointing at the thing I want, paying, and leaving. And it sounds silly, but I'm a very, very introverted person. I don't like confrontation with people I don't know, especially when you find yourself in a setting where you almost have to strike up a conversation. I mean, if you ring the doorbell, the guy answers, and you kind of have to explain that you're not there for physio, but you're there for purchasing perfumes. You have to, in a way, communicate. And yes, I could order online, but then you have all the import duties, customs, etc., etc. I might just be purchasing this in Milano when I go for Exants. I'm not really sure when this video comes out. I might have already gone, or I might be there at the moment. But yeah, you'll know soon if I own this. In any case, let's get right to it. Let's see what the booklet says for Oriental Velours. A one-of-a-kind blend between two mythic ingredients of perfumery, myrrh and vetiver. A bewitching sensual fragrance for lovers of rare high-quality fabrics. All right, so these descriptions don't really say much, I have to say. We're gonna keep going through them because we've done 3, and they're fairly brief, so it doesn't really take up much time. Let's give it a couple sprays here and let's see what this is all about. Gorgeous atomizers, my God. Yeah, I like this a lot. I like this, I love it. This is beautiful. This is a very vetiver forward fragrance off strip. It comes across as bitter, it comes across as a little bit balsamic, a little bit earthy. I'm not a huge fan of deep, dry, really manly, old school vetivers. And this one here is a little bit different because there's that myrrh note that really softens and smoothens everything out. It's very beautiful. It almost has like an aniseed, something a little bit licoricey or rooty behind there. It might be part of the vetiver. I didn't even remember there was vetiver in Oriental Velours. I thought it was more of a myrrh incense fragrance. Beautiful, a little bit subtle. I was expecting something a little bit stronger given how dark the liquid content is. But it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous, it's smooth, it's rich at the same time. It has a lot of facets. I feel like this on skin would work really, really well. I might be really biased because I really want to try this one on skin before I even go through the other ones. I mean, unless I'm super surprised, this will probably be the one that I choose to wear on skin. Off the strip, I have to say that it's not disappointing, but I was expecting a little bit more smoky, fumey facets of this. So I was expecting a little bit more incense. Instead, it's mostly this really smooth, really soft type of vetiver, which is great. I do have a little bit of a pocket to fill in my fragrance collection, vetiver-wise. I don't really have many vetiver fragrances. There's something about most vetiver fragrances that really doesn't rub me the right way. My current favorite vetiver fragrance is Spirito by Meo Fusciuni. That is very, very smooth, very subtle, a very light type of vetiver. That one I like. I was almost on the verge of purchasing Fat Electrician by Italie d'Orange because it seemed like a really interesting gourmand vetiver, but I couldn't find enough resources about that. Do you have any experiences with that? If yes, please leave me a comment down below because I'm really interested in that one there. Sorry for the parenthesis, let's go back to Oriental Velours. Again, beautiful, a little bit smoky, but more on the vetiver smoky side. Myrrh, yes, it smoothens everything out. It's a little bit simple, it's not too complex. I'm kind of feeling that this is the least impressive of the bunch, but probably because it really needs skin to have the incense and those really rich ambery notes bloom. I would say that off the strip, this is a strong 7 out of 10. Fragrance number 4 is Chypre Azural. All right, I don't know anything about this fragrance. I mean, I know what a Chypre is. I'm not really sure if this is a fresher version because Azural, it might be blue, azure, I don't know. Not really sure. We have to read the description on this one here because I have no idea. So the little color that's associated is blue, and it says, the essential piece in an everyday wardrobe, an extra fresh trail, citrusy and long-lasting, that will accompany you throughout the day like a second skin. Okay, so it might not be your typical heavy Chypre fragrance. I don't think that Les Indemodables does any of those. We'll see. Citrusy, huh? Floral, all right. Wow, this is so beautiful. I like this. I like this a lot already. So the citruses in here come across as sour, astringent, kind of bitter in a way. It's a very rindy type of smell. And it tastes, well, it doesn't taste, it smells like the taste of rind. If you accidentally bite into like an orange rind or a lemon rind, not only it's sour, yes, but it's mostly bitter. It smells like that. And there's also a very herbaceous, mentholated type of aspect to it. It's very, very green. It might be mint, it might be something like basil. Gorgeous, gorgeous, realistic. This is so realistic. This kind of reminds me of a more citrusy version of Beach Hut Man by Amouage. It's that kind of vibe. This is really good. I would totally pull this off. This to me comes across as very summery fresh. It's not necessarily summery only because it might be more of those fragrances that just come off as clean and as put together. Yeah, gorgeous. Again, all I'm getting are these very beautiful citruses, and all is a very diminutive term here because I'm getting a lot of stuff, but there's this beautiful bouquet of citruses, very rindy, very, very realistic, with these freshly cut herbs. They're very, again, they smell so realistic and fresh, like this very beautiful mint, the one that you rub between your fingers and it leaves this incredibly beautiful trace. It feels like the very fresh herbs that you would put into a salad, maybe like on top of a caprese salad. Caprese salad, by the way, is like tomato and mozzarella. So you put on top of that, you put on basil, like very fresh, beautiful basil. You put on some mint. It really aids and cuts through that richness of the mozzarella. Absolutely gorgeous. I wasn't expecting this at all. I was expecting a little bit more of a vintagey Chypre. This is gorgeous, beautiful stuff. Wow. Opening is insanely wow inducing. I would say this is an easy 8 out of 10, like easy 8 out of 10. Fragrance number 5 is Patchouli Noisette. I don't know anything about this fragrance, and Patchouli Noisette translates well to patchouli, obviously, and hazelnut. So this will be interesting. I'm expecting something earthy and a little bit almost gourmand. Again, I don't really know anything about this except for the fact that, if I recall correctly, this is Rich Mitch's least favorite Les Indemodables fragrance, and he has a lot of them. He's a huge fan of the house. So we'll see. I don't know what to say. I think that also that Eloise from Eloise Scents really liked this one. We'll give it a try. So yes, this is obviously a patchouli fragrance, but the patchouli in here is not earthy, it's not musty, it's not damp, it's not like that wet piece of wood patchouli. It doesn't smell funky at all. This is a very clean, very almost powdery type of patchouli, and maybe it's the hazelnut in here that is aiding this feeling. I'm not really getting the hazelnut per se, but maybe it's there to aid, again, this patchouli, maybe this very rich type of nutty patchouli. Again, there's no hazelnut. Maybe it's because I'm associating hazelnut to something like Nutella, and it has hazelnut and chocolate, and maybe chocolate is similar to patchouli, but this is a lot different. This is not gourmand at all. I was expecting something a lot more gourmand. This is very, very beautiful. It has the patchouli body of the fragrance, definitely, but it has a lot of fresh airiness to it. I can't explain it. This is surprisingly light for the ingredients that are in here. There's something about it which is very, very uplifting. I think scent-wise, it's probably my least favorite. Again, not knocking on this fragrance whatsoever. It's just because it's not as heavy as I would want it to be, but it's also not as zingy as I would want it to be. This is a very mid-tone centric fragrance, very beautiful, very nuanced. It has a little bit of a woody aspect to it, but it's a very sweet type of a smooth wood. I think it's probably due to the fact that I can't associate this scent profile to anything. It evoke any memories to me. It doesn't really come across as anything that I know. So that's probably killing a lot of the enthusiasm that I have for the scent. Again, beautiful, super well done. Maybe not my thing. I would definitely wear this if I had a bottle, but yeah. Probably one of the least impressives for me. This is like a 6.5, 7 out of 10. Oh shit, I forgot to read about the Patchouli Noisette in the booklet here. This might bring a little bit of light to the fragrance. So it says, this creation revisits a mythical ingredient, patchouli. It is combined with an exclusive extract designed internally, the ultrasound extract of hazelnut from Piedmont, Italy. The accord is a delicate balance between the dark side of the patchouli with the subtle praline facets of hazelnut. All right, no, it doesn't really bring much light to the fragrance or to my first impression, so we'll keep it at that. What was it, 6.5, 7? Yeah. Fragrance number 6 is Iris Perle. Maybe a very white, a very clean smelling iris. Again, how would this differ from the Musc de Sables? I don't know. Let's see what the booklet says about this one here. An elegant and delicate perfume with the heart notes of French orris, Egyptian violet leaves, and Moroccan mimosa absolutes, balanced with a fresh ocean breeze. All right, I'm very curious about that ocean breeze aspect. Let's see what this smells like. This does have a little bit of an ocean breeze to it, as silly as that sounds, because again, ocean breeze as a note doesn't really exist, but this has a very steamy type of smell. It kind of reminds me of the steamy accord in Sartorial by Penhaligon's. It's a little bit metallic, it's a little bit salty. I guess there is this like pearlescent shine to this fragrance. It smells gray. It smells, again, shiny. There's a little bit of a watery aspect to this. It might be the violet. It probably is the violet, actually. Violet is known to have this like watery accord. It feels like a pond. It looks like a pond in my head, like a pond that has been sitting like in the middle of a misty forest. And when everything is like gray, when you have like gray sky and a little bit of fog, the pond almost like reflects with this metallic sheen. Very subtle, but also at the same time very noticeable. It has this super interesting. It has this, I don't know what it is. It has this calmness to it, almost like fog. You might be tempted to think that this also is similar to Musc de Sables, but actually the vibe is completely different. Musc de Sables was a very fluffy, very comforting type of towel. This is a lot more sad and melancholic. It's a lot colder. It's a lot fresher. Again, it smells like fog. It smells like some sort of a watery type of pond in the forest. Gorgeous stuff. The iris in here is definitely a lot more earthy. It's a lot more rugged. This almost has like a pissy animalic type of component. Again, it might be that violet. It might have that violet type of pungency to it. I really like this. It kind of reminds me of those Filippo Sorcinelli scents, the ones that were very foggy that I sampled on Strip in a speed dating episode. Very beautiful stuff. Very, very evocative. I like this a lot. It's a little subtle. It's not super wow inducing off Strip, but I think that this is a strong 7.5 out of 10. All right, fragrance number 7 is Ambre Supreme. Now, this is probably one of my favorite fragrances of all time. I have a bottle of this. I've talked about this in multiple occasions. I absolutely love it. This is a pure, real ambergris fragrance that is absolutely incredible. There's something about the way this fragrance wears on skin, which makes it just pop off my skin. It perfectly suits my skin chemistry. I'm so protective about this scent, it's crazy. I almost feel like I can't wear it just because it's that good. I almost feel like I don't deserve it, like I don't deserve spraying this. It's so precious to me. This is probably one of the only fragrances that I would buy a backup bottle of. But third person mode again, let's see how the fragrance is talked about in the booklet. Ambergris is one of the most prized ingredients. In this creation, the natural version, specially sourced and tinctured at our lab, is used in 10% overdosage, highlighting its ambery, animalic, slightly marine facets throughout an unprecedented and addictive accord. I can totally attest to this. This is 100% accurate. It's incredible. But let's spray it on strip, because I've never actually sprayed it on strip, and let's see how it fares. I actually feel that this is one of those fragrances that really needs to go on skin. The way ambergris sits on skin, the way it meshes with your skin chemistry, it's absolutely magical. Off the strip, it comes across as clean. Like, clean is definitely the word that first comes into my mind. It comes across as clean, very soapy, very aldehydic. And reading the description alone, not knowing what this is, I would probably be a little bit disappointed, because the soapiness is very, very strong, very unrelentless here. It's very difficult to like move away and to really get to that ambergris. The ambergris in here is not necessarily perceivable. It might require a little bit of a dry down. We might have to revisit this in a bit after the scent has petered off a little bit on the strip. But you can't really detect it off the strip. You can't really detect the ambergris. The aspect that is definitely detectable of the ambergris is this beautiful, almost effortless type of cleanliness here. And what I mean by that is that ambergris has this special effect where it's both a little bit stinky and animalic and marine-like, but it's also super clean. It feels like the natural smell that your skin should have or should possess. It's crazy. It has this weird, very salty type of I don't know, salty cleanliness. It smells like the most beautiful skin after a day at the beach, but in the best possible way. No funk, no sweat, no dirtiness. It just has that extra layer of aroma. It's like you're eating the most beautiful piece of steak, and then you discover for the first time salt, and salt really enhances those flavors. And ambergris, I feel, does kind of the same thing to skin. Okay, now that the fragrance has a little bit dried off, I can already pick up on that beautiful, effortless cleanliness that I was talking about. This is the most striking version of ambergris that I've ever smelled in my life. It's absolutely incredible. And I have another fragrance, this Real Ambergris by YS Yusak. It's called Ambre Bleu, which I also love. But that one there is a little bit more intentionally stinky. I think that they put in oud or something else. It's still beautiful, it's still clean, but that cleanliness is a little bit offset by that oudiness or stinkiness. In this, they go all in on that cleanliness. It's absolutely magical. This has such an incredible special effect on skin. I can't even scratch the surface of this. Beautiful. I would say though that the opening off strip, especially if you don't know what to expect and if you're expecting something a little bit more marine, is not that great. Meaning that it doesn't really tell the story of the fragrance. It's super powerful, super potent, but the main thing that you think when smelling this off strip is clean. I would say 7.5 out of 10 because it's really potent, it's really in your face, but you really don't get the full picture of this beautiful masterpiece fragrance until the deep dry down. Fragrance number, what are we? Number 8. So this one here is Fougere Emeraude. All right, I like Fougeres. I hope that this is a little bit of a different take. Let's see what they say on the booklet here. Yeah, it's definitely emerald, and it says a 21st century fougere that displays the sophistication of tailor-made pieces designed by haute couture's best designers. All right, we'll see. Let's give it a couple sprays here. Beautiful opening, not too blown away. There's nothing really too dissimilar from other Fougeres. Very fresh, very lavendery, very creamy. It has that creamy shaving cream type of feeling, for sure. It It's super smooth. It's not as masculine maybe as other Fougeres that I've smelled. It has a little bit of a metallic, clean tinge to it, kind of reminiscent of, again, Sartorial by Penelegance. Sartorial is very, very punchy, very in your face, very masculine in a way, very elegant. This comes across as a lot more natural smelling. Lavender is definitely front and center in this composition, but I don't know, it just comes across as like super smooth and super clean. This is probably one of the most smooth Fougeres out there. And Fougeres, not all of them are smooth. A lot of them are, again, they're edgy, they're very bright, they're very zingy and energizing. They're great for maybe starting out the day. This one here comes across as much more relaxing. The lavender in here is much more of a relaxing type of lavender. It's much more something that I would probably wear to go to bed. This is like a very beautiful mentholated lavender cream that, again, like a very, something that I would apply for relaxation, almost like meditation purposes. I like this a lot. Very elegant, very beautiful. As far as Fougere goes though, not the most exciting. This will probably bloom differently on skin. This will probably wear a lot better on skin. I don't know. I think I have to try this in the following days. Opening alone, I would say 7-ish, 7.5 out of 10, something like that. All right, fragrance number 9. And what is this here? Rose de Jamal. All right, so this one here is the third fragrance that I own. Incredibly beautiful. This is probably my favorite rose fragrance at the moment. My favorite fresh rose fragrance at the moment. My ultimate favorite remains Portrait of a Lady, but that's a lot more of a complex rose, I would say. This is very much rose forward. It's, again, a very fresh, very different type of rose. It's minty, it's beautiful. I love this to death. But again, third person hat. Oh, before that, we have to look at the description. The rose absolute has been used in overdosage in this creation. The local Nana mint and cedarwood oils have also been included. A tribute to the exceptional terroirs of Morocco and the men and women who relentlessly cultivate these jewels of perfumery. Okay. Nana mint, huh? Definitely has a mintiness to it. I know for that for a fact, but third person mode, let's give this a couple sprays. Unbiased here. So if you smelled something like Lyric Man, this will be immediately familiar. This is a very beautiful rose forward fragrance that has a very fresh, very watery type of zinc to it. This is very much top heavy. The rose that I smell in here is very light in color. It's very pulpous in a way, but at the same time it's also velvety. It's a very elegant, very beautiful type of rose. It's very photorealistic, but it's not your typical red rose that you see in those red rose bouquets. It's a little bit more dewy, it's watery, it's, again, very, very fresh. It's almost like a rose in the beautiful morning when there's still dews on there, everything is still kind of cold, and there's not a super intense smell. The mintiness in here is immediately noticeable. And it really elevates this freshness to the next level. Beautiful stuff. The opening is absolutely mesmerizing. But you have to like rose. If you don't like rose, this kind of smells like rose water to a degree. Not in an offensive way whatsoever. It just objectively has that rose cleanliness, that rose freshness of rose water. I like rose. This has a nice metallic tinge. It has a nice metallic edge. It's very, very fresh. Again, the freshness of the rose is probably the most unique factor of this fragrance. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Wow. It's not super potent off the strip. You can definitely smell it. You can definitely pick it up. But it's more in the lines of something like Musc de Sables or even the Iris Perle. This is a subtle, elegant, really, really unisex type of rose. I would say almost leans masculine. It's a weird one because, again, I get strong rose water type of smell. I'm not adverse to rose water, by the way, but I have to really almost concentrate to just push that off to the side. Especially off the strip, I get a lot of rose water. Beautiful stuff. I would say that this is, again, the opening impression really depends on how much you like rose, but if you like rose, this is a strong 8 out of 10. Super unique smelling, really, really good. All right, second to last fragrance here. I'm definitely getting a little bit fatigued, also because I've been talking for a really long time. This one here is Cuir de Chine. So Chinese leather, I guess. I wasn't even aware that Les Indemodables made a leather fragrance. Oh, before we spray it, let's check out what it says. A fresh, elegant, and surprising trail paying tribute to suede and leather. A sporty, chic outfit for the unexpected getaways. Okay, not too evocative. Let's get a couple sprays here. This is very unexpected, actually. Really interesting. Upon first sprays, I thought I smelled orange, like an orange rind. Yeah, this is easily, very, very quickly translating to a very beautiful, traditional type of leather. Well, traditional. I mean, what is traditional leather even? This is a very elegant type of leather. This is more like a Chanel type of leather. It's not greasy, it's not oily, it's very, very fresh. But it's definitely leather. This is really interesting. Yeah, really beautiful suede feeling. This is like pure leather. It feels kind of like how Falcon Leather by Matière Première came across as very pure and direct leather. Obviously that one there was a lot more greasy, oily, and edgy due to that birch tar. This one here though is like a beautiful shoe, and I talked about this I think in my first impression comparison when I featured Le Lion by Chanel. Also, that sort of leather featured a very clean, very shoe-like type of leather. Obviously that had a lot more of a vanilla contour to it, a lot more of a gourmand, very much more rounded contour. This is just pure suede leather. It's like picking up a brand new shoe and just putting your nose like at it or in it or around it. Super realistic. Wow, this is probably one of the most realistic leathers I've ever smelled. Like as far as this pure leather goes, insanely realistic. I almost get the brown fuzz. I don't know, I'm imagining this texture of this like brown fuzzy leather. Not beige, just like brown, like chocolate brown, fuzzy suede. So insanely realistic, wow. For this alone, I mean, this is like a special effect type of realism. It's like weird. It's almost like off-puttingly realistic. I can't explain it, it's like crazy. Oh my God, this is like the most realistic leather ever, seriously. I've never smelled anything like so photorealistic, just like so. If I were to close my eyes and you would put this under my nose, I would be like, this is a shoe, like a brand new shoe, a brand new luxurious shoe. This is almost like not even a fragrance, it's like a smell. It's so strange. I really like this. I don't know, I'm maybe really impressed by how incredibly realistic this is. I'm not really sure how much I would wear this. I mean, I would wear this just because I like weird stuff, but I'm not sure how much this fragrance is wearable per se. It's just such a... This is like an exercise in fragrance making. Really, really interesting. Also, that's especially interesting because there's no real leather distillation that can occur. You have to kind of like put it together artificially. I actually want to see something because in these descriptions here, they tell you what's in it. And in here, there's osmanthus, there's jasmine. Actually, wait, there's two types of osmanthus in here. So there's osmanthus alcoolate China Grand Cru, which is 10%. Then there's jasmine absolute Egypt Grand Cru. And then there's osmanthus absolute China. And then there's mild tobacco absolute Turkey. So super unique. I can't stress enough how insanely realistic this is. This would probably be a really good fragrance or scent to spray on like a leather garment to refresh the leather feel of it, to refresh that smell. A very beautiful, new, elegant, clean leather. beautiful. I like this a lot. I would say that the opening for this is easily at least an 8. I'm a little bit biased because it's so wow-inducing, but this is really, really interesting, super cool. I will definitely be wearing this on skin to see if it evolves a little bit, if it takes up a little bit of a nuance. Okay, we're at the end of the journey with our last fragrance. This one here is Oriental Sirocco. And this apparently is, what is it, like an orange blossom fragrance, or is it an orange fragrance? Let's see what it says in here. I think this is the newest fragrance by Les Indemodables. I remember it being like released in 2024-ish. Oh, this one has a long description. It says, Oriental Sirocco presents itself as an ode to life. From the first notes, the mind is carried away by a warm, shimmering wind of sand. On the other side of the Mediterranean, in the heart of an orange grove, with closed eyes, scents and sounds intertwine. The powerful and intoxicating fragrance of orange flowers echoing the distant hustles and bustles of a souk, where the aroma of spices and waves saturating the regular breath of the Sirocco. All right, Sirocco, I think, is referring to the wind. And yeah, definitely. So it might be a wind that blows from Africa to the Mediterranean, or maybe from the Mediterranean towards Africa. I can't remember which way it blows, but it's definitely blending in the orange grove smells with the souk or the spices. I really like orange blossom, especially if it's properly dosed in a very elegant, subtle way. Definitely orange blossom, a lot more orange blossom than orange than I was expecting. I was kind of hoping for a little bit more of a realistic citrusy orange, but no. This is an orange blossom fragrance all the way. This has a beautiful warmth to it. It has a lot of body, has a lot of density. Surprising considering that a lot of orange blossom fragrances go the very clean, very fresh route. This is a lot more denser. I like it a lot. It's super elegant, very, very subtle in a way. It's powerful. It obviously has a lot of presence, but it's also subtle. It's not shouty. The orange blossom here is very beautifully blended, as I was hoping. The spices in here are not really super apparent. It's not like a stinky, very oriental, very Middle Eastern type of spice market. It's not cumin-y, it's not cooking spice type of thing. It's more of a, I think that there's a little bit of cardamom in here. It gives it a little bit of effervescence, a little bit of lift, but still kind of like a very subtle dustiness. And maybe they use the cardamom for like the desert feeling. Actually, let me check for a sec. So where is it? So in here there is orange flower absolute, petit grain, royal cinnamon. All right, doesn't say even cardamom, doesn't say that. But this is not a very cinnamony type of fragrance. I wouldn't have pointed out cinnamon. I love cinnamon, and I can easily identify cinnamon. I love cinnamon in everything, from the over-the-top, artificial, like red hot type of cinnamon, to the more realistic, dusty cinnamon stick type of smell. This is if it's in here, it's incredibly subtle. This smells a lot more like cardamom. It smells a lot more like general spicy dustiness. It's a very elegant, very mild, very contained type of spice. I like it a lot. It's quite innovative, although the orange blossom idea per se, it's a little bit not as unique. I would say that if you weren't focused on trying to decipher this, and if you weren't aware that this was a Les Indemodables fragrance with high expectations of that, you'd probably just like think this is another orange blossom fragrance. It's good, really elegant, super well made. It feels high quality, but overall not that unique. I feel that this is probably the least impressive of the bunch, together with the Patchouli Noisette. The Patchouli actually was a little bit more unique smelling. I've never smelled anything exactly like that. This is something that I smelled time and time again. And I have a lot of orange blossom fragrances. I think that the best orange blossom fragrance that I've ever smelled, it's either, I think it's the Tower one. The Tower, can't remember what it's called, but it's orange and orange blossom. It has a lot of spices, that is spicy, smoky incense with orange. Super unique smelling. Yeah, this is good. I almost feel that this leans a little bit more feminine. I would totally pull this off. I will wear all of these samples, by the way. I can't wait to wear these because it's really beautiful stuff. I would say 7 out of 10, maybe 6.5 out of 10, something like that. All right, we're done. This was another long one. We're done with the sampling. Now I'm going to be spraying one of these on skin. I think that I'm going to be spraying Oriental Velours just because it's not necessarily the one that impressed me most. Actually, the one that impressed me most, I think that the one that got the highest score is Vanille Havane, but I own that fragrance, so I'm not going to spray it on skin. I know what it smells like. Vanille Havane has confirmed to be really good, especially in first impression, and I can totally see how it's the easy top seller of the brand. I mean, with that type of opening, if you smell it on strip in a shop, you will buy it. It's just that good. It's really, really good, and I can't knock it. I think it's a little bit, I don't know, not overdone, not over talked about. It deserves all the praise. I'm just kind of like tired of hearing about it when there's so much other cool stuff in there. I feel that the runner-up to be sprayed on skin would be definitely the Chypre Azural. The citruses in there were absolutely incredible. Super realistic, very, very interesting with that minty aspect. I really liked that. The other ones that I liked were, what was it? Well, I own 3, so my other favorite there is Ambre Supreme, but that doesn't really show its true face on strip. I think that the other one that I really liked was, I think it was Iris Perle, because it was really interesting. It really gave a nice foggy impression. I'm going to be definitely looking at buying a bottle of Chypre Azural if it works out on skin. But now we're going to be spraying Oriental Velours, because this one here specifically, although it didn't get my highest marks, it felt a little bit, not basic, but a little bit simple. I do feel that this would bloom on skin. There's something about the way this smells on strip that is kind of telling me that it really wants to be on skin, that it needs that skin warmth and skin chemistry to really come alive. So this is the one that I could be spraying. I'm super excited because I really want to like this. I really want to buy this. So let's see. 3 good sprays. Again, super nice samples. Before we sample Oriental Velours, I just want to close this off saying that these are really beautiful samples. I applaud Les Indemodables for their work, just their fragrances in general. Amazing stuff, really generous sample. This is like more than 2 mLs. Great stuff, mini wears out of just this sample set alone. Really cool. I like this stuff. I like brands that care. I like brands that put a lot of effort into the small details, because they know that something like this sells bottles, it sells fragrances, it sells a good impression. That's super important to me. All right, let's check this Oriental Velours out. It's actually quite similar on skin than it was on strip. It has a little bit more density, it has a little bit more base, but that's pretty much expected because my skin does this to every fragrance. It really brings out the base notes, it really brings out the base volume, the base tone, and I love that about my skin. It works well. On the other hand, it really kills any sort of acidity. This smells relatively similar. Again, I feel that most of these fragrances are probably the way they're designed. They smell very traditional, and they might smell similar on skin. This one here, again, it's similar, but it has a little bit more richness, a little bit more body, and a little bit more just, it's full. It's a full fragrance. The aspect that is coming across the most right now is probably the smokiness and the very rich bitterness of the vetiver. This is much more of a vetiver fragrance than I thought it would be. I thought this would be a lot more like warm, ambery, and incensey and myrrh-like. Yes, there's myrrh, but it almost takes like a background seat compared to the vetiver. The vetiver is very, very prominent. It's not your typical very bitter, almost dry, dusty, ashy type of vetiver. And again, it might be the myrrh, it might be the other things in here, but it's very round. It's very warm, almost radiating off the skin type of feeling. I like it a lot. I was hoping I would like it a little bit more. I think that I'm more into something like Chypre Azural than this. for now. I mean, if I were to like gun to my head, buy a full bottle right now, the next bottle, it would probably be Chypre Azural, just blind. Obviously, I have to sample that. It might not work on skin. My skin chemistry actually might just eat up all those citruses and they might just completely die. So I don't know. Very beautiful. I like it a lot. I think that it has migrated to maybe like a 7.5, 8. You have to like vetiver. This is fairly unisex. Vetiver is usually associated to a more masculine type of note. This is very, very unisex. It's almost transcending vetiver. I don't know why. I might be extremely sensitive to vetiver, but this comes across as a very beautiful, smooth vetiver. If you have, by the way, any other vetiver fragrances in your mind that are smooth, that are a little bit more full-bodied. I don't like the dry, ashy, smoky, bitter type of vetiver. I like more of a, not even the wet one, because I tried Sultan vetiver. I like more of a vetiver note with like a background of something maybe sweeter to break it off. This is kind of going in the direction that I like, but I would like something even more in that sense. Anyway, this has been fun. I love this house. 10 out of 10 for fragrances, 10 out of 10 house in my opinion, one of the best niche houses on the market. Absolutely love Les Indemodables. I'll be definitely purchasing more fragrances just because I like the house, I like the brand, and I want to support brands like this. I'm happy they're getting a lot more traction recently on social media, especially on YouTube. They really deserve it. If you're interested in good, traditional, relatively simple yet super elegant fragrances, this might be the fragrance house that you really need to check out. So yeah, double thumbs up for Les Indemodables. I really like it. 10 out of 10 fragrance house. Again, especially the discovery set. Yes, the fragrances are a little bit expensive, 220 euros for 50 ml. But as far as the discovery set goes, you can't really go wrong. You even get a discount code for a full bottle, which is 25% off, by the way. Yeah, you really can't go wrong. A lot of juice, a lot of fun times, many wears, great stuff. Highly recommended. If you like this type of content, if you like my approach to video, feel free to subscribe. It's always massively appreciated and it helps the channel. If you want to interact with me, leave a comment, suggestion, opinion, or anything else down below. I always reply and I always keep the conversation open. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your time. It's never taken for granted. Many more videos to come as per usual. See you in the next one and cheers.